Hey everybody, it's a Sunday. We don't usually go live here at EVS on Sunday, but I was sitting around the house and it's just football on, so I figured, whatever. Let's talk. So what I wanted to talk about with you guys, probably, that Charlie Daniels died just a couple months ago, and I can't think of any more iconic or more highly requested song than "Devil Went Down to Georgia." If you play fiddle in a band, you're going to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 requests a night for "Devil Went Down to Georgia." And for some reason, people just, they don't want to play it. And I hear this all the time on the forums and stuff online. I don't want to play Devil. It's a better song than anything I've ever written. It makes people happy. And if you don't like playing "Devil Went Down to Georgia," maybe just write a version of "Devil Went Down to Georgia" that you do like playing. I mean, we are musicians, right? We're creative people. So I've got some buddies here who have all done different versions of "Devil Went Down to Georgia." And I thought that we'd get together and we would talk about how iconic the song is. And then each of us, we're going to play a little bit of our versions of the song, and each person is going to talk about how they came up with that version, and maybe they'll share some recipes or something while they're here. They're all creative people. Adam's got, he raises livestock. He can maybe talk about chickens or something. So we got Adam DeGraff and Joseph Shackleford and Mia Asano, and they're all in these respective locations you can see on your screen. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
How's it going?
And we got to start with somebody, so we'll start with a good-looking one. We'll start with Adam.
Oh man, I think Mia wins, but okay.
So I guess tell people where you are. You're in your listening room. We got to plug the listening room.
I am at my Lee Street listening room in Lewisburg, West Virginia. Very cool little venue that happened to just kind of open up. It's an old library in the junior high school that is this early 1900s building, beautiful old brick building, and I couldn't pass it up, so snatched it up, and seats about 100 people comfortably. It's got couches and pillows and comfy chairs and great sound system and a nice little stage and just a place to call home. A lot of rehearsal, a lot of teaching, a lot of recording goes on here. But when it's firing on all cylinders, we have numerous concerts, a few concerts a month usually. So I think we did 30 or 40 last year before times, I guess.
Before the cataclysm.
For it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you don't follow the Lee Street Listening Room, do that on Facebook, because there's always some really cool live streams and stuff coming out of there.
Thanks.
So we were just talking before we got started here that you sort of, I don't know if it was prescient or what the deal was, that you sort of COVID-proofed your touring ensemble. Your touring ensemble consists of you.
Yeah, it does. I have a manager too who comes with me and is a good, close family friend. That was also a good move. I used to have a management like big city Fat Cat manager. It just wasn't working out. And right before, I also made that change to somebody who I really trusted, that had my back, that could be with me. You really need a representative with you, even if you're just one person. So, but whether it's selling albums or getting stuff set up right, that was a really none of these things, obviously none of us see in the future. So just followed my heart, and same way I followed my heart with my other projects, my band projects, kind of all wound down at one time because my wife got really sick with Lyme disease. She's 110% better now, all better, completely recovered, super amazing. And at the same time, I was at home. I have 2 kids. I've got a farm. I love being with my family, and so I wasn't going to go out touring while she was sick, and I stayed home and just figured, like, what can I do by myself? And reached out to you, Matt. You helped me with the effects that I was looking for, something a little bit more repeatable. Ended up with a top of the line Helix, where I could really get to know it, and I spent about a year getting to know it between that and my loop pedal, so that I could make percussive sounds, bass sounds, guitar riff sounds. Pretty much anything I can dream up, I can figure out a way now to make happen with the Helix. The 10 plus years of looping on my own, just for fun, really came in handy, because being able to use the looper like a second instrument is really important, especially if you want to experiment live, right, in front of people. Otherwise, you're like, you're sitting there kind of like playing it safe, and who wants to play it safe? So I wrote a ton of music that year, 2 albums worth of music in that one year. It's funny, I was just giving this lecture at WVU about, they call it the COVID proof or pandemic proof artist series. And I was like, well, I'm sure there's no such thing. But, in thinking back, actually, creating stuff with limitations, everyone likes to talk about, well, I'm limited here, use the limitations. I needed to do something by myself. I wanted to make as much noise with as few things as possible, and every single thing had to fit on my back and in the overhead compartment, and those were my limitations. And that really stinks when you come from like a 4 or 5 piece band that was like, super awesome drums, killer bass player, awesome keyboardist and singer. Those are really awesome things to have, but man, is it easier touring with just one person. My manager can set everything up on the stage, and what's the, one thing you always hear during every concert is, do you play Devil Went Down to Georgia? Now, we all have heard that 1,000 times. And a lot of times I just blew them off because, I'm sure you guys have had the same experience as I have, where you're like, oh, okay. And you play the opening riff, and then you're like, and no one, you're like, anybody know the words? And some drunk guy gets up, yeah, I know the words. I know the first 6 words. And then he like fumbles and makes a fool of himself. And then you're like, man, this was a terrible idea. So, yeah, I know I'm not the only one that's happened to. So anyway, I got to the point where I was like, honestly, you know what they want to hear? They want to hear that first riff. And I'm okay with that. So how can I write something that gives the audience exactly what they want to hear? And I've been doing this for years now. Like, I had a kind of a breakout success with Sweet Child of Mine, where I'm like, how can I take all 5 instruments and make it really, really cool, but just me, just alone, no looper, no nothing, no technology, in case everything bugs out. And I found that there are things that people want to hear. And I asked myself that question: what do my audience, or I like to call them my customers, because customer service is everything, right? Let's give them what they want, but let's do it in a way that makes me happy. So yeah, that's what I did. So
let's listen to it real quick. This is a live video that we got, and it's unfortunately a little grainy because whoever his camera guy didn't bring the the Canon 5D or something that day. But this is the audio is what we care about, right? So here it is.
No, do you play The Devil Went Down to Georgia?
All right, so that gives us a bit of a taste into Adam DeGraff. I think I tapped it out today like 150 BPM on my metronome because I was curious. And I do recall there was a post or something I think you made. That is officially the world's fastest version, right?
Officially, the fastest. No one can play faster than I can. I think that's so funny because I had just seen somebody had just sent one of those 2-set violins, and the guy is talking about how fast he plays, and as if like speed makes a difference,
yeah.
Right? But I don't know. I just thought it was funny to like say something like that and see, and I think you actually called me out on it early on. I was just like, it's too funny not to like talk about speed, like as if it makes a difference.
Seriously.
too funny. I saw Alex Depew was talking to me about that a long time ago because dude rocks. I mean, truly, like any violinist will tell you, no, there's certainly nobody better in the world, and he just kills that violin every time he plays it. And David Garrett maybe appropriated one of the things, said something like that, world's fastest or Guinness Book of World Record. And he's on stage, and we were out at this conference where we were all playing, and he's like, that record, he's like warming up. He's like, that record I break, daily. It was awesome. He was just such a smart.
Awesome.
Such a great
Yeah, I
player.
think the two set people, there was a ton of like troll. I think you and I were having a lot of fun with people on the comment section there. So sacrilegious.
Yeah, God forbid.
Awesome. Well, if you got anything else you wanted to share about that after people hear it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the basics are the same for me. A lot of students come to me asking the same question, like, how do I do something like that, or what's your thought process? And it's always the same thing, which is, if you're going to do something awesome on stage, you just have to spend a lot of time experimenting in your practice room. And experimentation, either for yourself, like where you're listening and recording yourself and watching it, or having a few people sitting watching you, really will push the envelope for the new stuff. I don't recommend experimenting on stage unless you spend a lot of time experimenting in private. But just if you're not that kind of person that wants to improvise on stage, then don't. And that comes out different every single night I do it. I have a general idea of what I want to lay down and how I want to do it. Sometimes it's a minute and a half long. Sometimes it's 4 minutes long, and I go crazy and do weird stuff. So, but yeah, my encouragement to everybody is always the same. Like, push the envelope, try it a lot. I don't call it practicing because nobody wants to sit and practice. Just play, experiment, have fun, just like a child, right? They're really good at computers. Why are they good at computers? Because they get on the computer and they're willing to like screw things up and try it and make a mess, and then, Dad, how do I fix this thing later? And you give them the answer. So experiment, have fun, play fast, take chances.
Yeah, I love the live looping version, and it would have never occurred to me to do. I'm not a live looper, so it would have never occurred to me to do it. And I guess, and that's one of the things. Like, there's a lot of changes in that tune. Like, there's different sections in the tune, and you're like, I mean, why couldn't? I mean, I don't have to play it in the same. It doesn't have to be just like the record. It's reminiscent of the tune. It's got elements of the tune, but it's also got my own thing. And if the limitation is that I can't do the A section, B section, C section, I'll just do the A section, and people get what they want, and I have fun.
I can. I mean, I loop live with Ableton too, so that's a different beast. I have no problem doing A sections, B sections, C sections. But what I found was I always ask myself the same thing. If I ever do a cover or allude to a cover, I always ask myself, what do people want to hear from that? Like, and the truth is, faithfully reproducing something, it's super cool. And I'm always like, awesome, good for you. But faithfully reproducing something is not necessarily what people want to hear. They want to hear that lick that they love, because you're not going to sound like their favorite band. I'm sorry. You're just never going to sound that good. Now, and I've heard y'all's versions. So, everybody's got like a different take on this, which is what's so cool about this. But, like Joseph throwing in like, just these wicked arpeggios, like super cool, and like, who's your audience? Who are you? And I found like those arpeggios, that will play uber well for a very kind of high level audience that appreciates what music is. Okay. And the tour that I was just on was not that. I was playing like medium-sized cities, like old concert halls, like people were just kind of like flowing in, like I'm not playing a university series. Okay. And like, but man, like when I watch that, I'm like, man, violin jock galore. I'm like, holy crap, that's awesome. Like killing it all over the place. Armia's like super creative version, like bringing in all these different people. Like the video work was really awesome. It was just fun. And then like, it's kind of kitschy, like the Mark O'Connor version when he changed it up. Devil Came Back to Georgia, I think it was, one of his albums. Just, like, let's have fun with this. And in each case, so, in all of these cases, you have this like different version. And then you get Matt coming in with like, I'm going to turn this country tune into this like heavy power, like muscle show of violin and beats and bass. So, like I just love that kind of stuff. Like each of these is completely unique. None of them was trying to be faithful at all. And, faithfulness to an original is cool, but you're never going to satisfy those people. So might as well bring out the thing that people want to see and make some aspect of it ultra cool.
Right.
So,
like you can't be more Charlie than Charlie. If they want to hear Charlie's version, up until 3 months ago, they would just go see Charlie.
Yeah.
Because the dude was doing like 300 shows a year. He was in your town probably as often as you were. Those of us that tour, Charlie was probably in Raleigh more than I was in Raleigh, and I live here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, totally right. And I think that's a great point to those of you who are out there writing and thinking about touring. You got to think about who's your audience and what does your show look like. I'm in a punk trio, violin, bass, and drums. So flying in a bunch of weird stuff, okay, that's fine for the recording, but I'm not gonna be able to pull that off live. So yeah, speaking of like rock versions, Joseph, dude, let's listen to this and then we'll talk about your version of this. So here's Joseph Shackleford.
He was in a bad, he was way behind, he was willing to make a deal. When the game across, this young man saw another fiddle and playing it hot. Well, the devil jumped upon a hickory stump and said, boy, let me tell you what. I guess you didn't know it, but I'm a fiddle player too. If you care to take a dare, I'll make a bet with you. See, you play pretty good fiddle, boy, but if the devil is due, I got a fiddle of gold to get you, so I think I'd better review. The boy said, my name's Johnny. Might be a sin. Now take your bet, you're gonna regret, cause I'm the best it's ever been. Opened up his case and he said, I'll start this show.
Holy crap, dude. Those arpeggios are nasty. So you did something that none of the rest of us did. You changed the key.
Yes.
Like, D's a pretty comfortable fiddle key. It's nice. And you're like, yeah, it's too easy, man.
I'll tell you, the one that I don't enjoy playing devil in is D flat. That is not a fun time at all.
Oh,
you got to tell them the story of you playing this thing in D flat.
Oh, that one was a time. My wireless died during that. It was with Rascal Flatts. It was a whole big. That was a night. That many things happened that night. But yeah, with this one we changed the key to changed it to A. And, Adam, one of the things I love that you brought up was people want to hear that first line. It's that motif that everyone knows. Everyone wants to hear that. Then after that, there's no fiddle part for a while. So, as a string player, you have to wear many different hats. Sometimes you have the solo show. Sometimes you're with a band. If you're with a band, someone says, hey, play Devil Went Down to Georgia. You play Devil Went Down to Georgia. If you're doing it solo and you don't already have like the loop built or a track or something, it becomes this awkward conversation. Well, I'll play it, but I don't sing it, or I sing it, or, all this type of stuff. My go-to answer for the longest time was, if you'll sing it, I'll play it. And that backfired more than once, so I stopped saying that. But, playing in different bands, and especially playing it with more rock-oriented bands, more of the heavier side, you get to experiment with it every night and kind of say, hey, I like this, I like that, I don't mind doing this, keep the main motif, and just have fun with it. So when I recorded it, was trying to go for, this is kind of the arrangement that I drift into playing live. Let's have some fun with it, let's record it. And yeah, we switched up the key just a little bit, though.
Yeah, and that's heavy, dude. So you're also a guitar player.
Yes.
So did you do all the guitar work on that recording?
No, I did not. I had my bud Will Beeman. He helped out with guitar and bass and drums on this. I did some guitar as well. So yeah, it was a collaborative effort, and it was going for more of a heavier version, a rock version. But yeah, just having some fun with it.
Yeah, the videography is killer too. The drone shot at the beginning, and then people didn't see. So I'm going to encourage everybody, like you're getting like a little slice of everybody's video here. Go to YouTube and find everybody's versions up on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. YouTube's probably easier to find. But go watch, like, these videos are really good. It's worth going to see the full video from each person. So not now, but when you're done here.
Yes.
Yeah, then it's totally worth going out to YouTube and finding the full version of these videos. So yeah, who did your video?
My friend JJ Brent, he directed this, and it was really funny when we went out. We filmed this on a farm about 2 miles into the wilderness, and there were some cows there when we got out there, and we were loading in, and they come up. You know, they're very close to us, and we were kind of concerned that they were going to mess with our gear while we were shooting. They finally mosey on away from us a little bit. During our very first take, about halfway through, I look over and JJ is just dying, laughing, and I don't know what's going on because I'm facing the other way. He's just dying out there. So we finished the take. It's the very first take. He shows me the footage later. Halfway through the song, the cows get spooked by something. I guess it was right around when the double solo comes in. But you can see them in the background if you watch the video, and they're just tearing off down the hill. It was hilarious. It was hilarious.
Were you afraid they were going to horn in on your action?
Moo.
Why you got a beef with this, man?
You're utterly good with the puns.
Oh no! How could you do this to me?
I guarantee you I'm the only person with cow shit on my pants right now.
Okay, you win.
Oh, mercy.
There it is. Video or it didn't happen. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Joseph, that was killer, dude. So you got to tell us about these arpeggios.
Yes. Arpeggios, that is something that the design of the Viper definitely helps because it's stationary. When I was working on the arrangement, I knew I wanted to put something there to make it a little bit more exciting during that bridge section. I experimented with several different things, and then I ended like, hey, let's do some arpeggios or something. Then when we chose the tempo and chose the key and everything, it got to be a logistical issue of keeping it in time because it's pretty quick. It's not near as fast as either of y'all's, but it's still very quick. So ended up doing a combination of ricochet instead of just doing a standard legato, just doing kind of this ricochet, which helped keep it a little bit cleaner as you're doing the shift. So that took a few hours of practicing just to go, okay, how are we going to do this? The elbow ricochet, back down, up, back down, up, back down. So it was definitely tiring. But,
like Mendelssohn style?
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, kind of like that, keeping the consistent rhythm bouncing back up. I tell this to my students all the time. The pinky is the secret weapon to a good bow hold. And that's definitely what's helping with the ricochet going back up, that bow staccato type stuff. But yeah, that was a fun, it's kind of a classical slice inside the rock version of a country song. So it's confused, but it was a lot of fun.
It's the thing that, we all of us have gotten away from classical music in large part, but you do find yourself going back to those techniques. You're like, man, I have an idea, and it's a good thing that I did study my Mendelssohn. It's a good thing I did study my Flesch scales and all that, because I know how to use that right here.
Yeah.
You're never going to wish you had less technique.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
So yeah, that was killer, man. And it's like you say, sometimes you'll write something, but you don't have the ability to execute that right yet. So it's like, man, why did I come up with that idea? Now I have to figure out how to play it. And you spend the next couple hours basically trying to figure out how to play that.
Back to the practice room, yeah. Yeah.
The cool thing about tape is you only got to get it right once, though.
Yeah, get it right once, then work on it for the rehearsal for the live show. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
where
right.
those hours of the practice room, that's where that comes into play then. Yeah, because if you do it once through the video, that's one thing. Doing this live, it takes a lot of rehearsal for that.
Right.
And out of fairness, just so for people who maybe are watching this, and Joseph says he's like, I needed to practice it for an hour. That was an additional hour to the 10,000 hours that you put in. So no one's going to pull off arpeggios like that without a lifetime of practice. It's just not going to happen. Okay. But, so then polishing stuff up is a whole nother story. So that's a mount of technique, with a spit shine on top, but not, you can't just expect to go out and do that kind of stuff. So, just out of fairness, that wasn't 1 hour.
No.
Just for the kids at home, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for your kids at home, an hour. You can totally nail it in an hour.
You're like beat the crap out of their violins, like, what's wrong with this thing?
My violin's not working right.
Man.
Awesome. Well, Mia, you're the one who put together this amazing COVID socially distanced production. I'm gonna let people watch just a little bit of this, and we'll talk about your version.
I'll start this show, and fire flew from his fingertips as he rosined up his bow. And he pulled that bow across the strings, and it made an evil hiss. And a band of demons joined in, and it sounded something like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sorry, everybody. This is what happens when you're trying to think about what you want to say next, and then you hit the wrong button. So yeah, Mia. So that's you were just telling us as we were watching that was a class project for Berkeley, which is why everybody got to see the cameo by the string famous Doc Wallace.
Yeah, it was technically, yes, it was a class project that initially it was an ensemble that I was in. We were called the Eclectic Electric Strings Ensemble, and it was an all Viper and Cobra and drum set ensemble at Berkeley. That was the professor was David Wallace. So it started last semester, pre-COVID, and the original idea was we were going to cover that song as a virtual reality concert. So we were going to sit and we're all going to have the VR goggles on, and the same with the audience, and they were going to program all this stuff. That obviously didn't end up happening. So this was the next best thing. And the other thing about the ensemble is we all brought our own ideas to the table. So everyone in the group, a lot of them arranged their own pieces or wrote their own pieces. And when it came up in discussion about Mia, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to do The Devil Went Down to Georgia, because I think as an electric string quartet, it would be so cool to do. So flash forward, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and so we decided to put together a remote video collaboration for it, and that was the result.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
So yeah, so I guess go ahead and name everybody that was in the video. We'll do the shout outs.
Yeah, so aside from me, it was Brandon Jackson and Yuval Gurr. They were on the other two violinists, and then Will Wyant on cello, the Cobra, and then Garrett Goodwin on drums, and then of course Dr. David Wallace with his cameo and snapping.
So I love the breakdown, and that's one thing that I've done a lot of in bands that I'm playing in. When let's just go ahead and put a solo section in the middle of this. There is a bunch of fiddle ripping in there, but I mean, there's no rule that says we can't add like a long improv section in the middle, because here we are. Let's just do it. Yeah, talk about that breakdown.
Well, because it's Berkeley and there's such a focus on jazz here, it kind of came up. I think Yuval first is the one who came up with the idea in class, because I wanted to have like a solo section, and the other idea was it's going to be kind of Yuval and Brandon were going to be like the devil, and then I was going to be Johnny, and it would be like a battle on stage, because Brandon and I, whenever we perform on stage together, we like to kind of have a little fiddle duel. It's kind of our thing. So we were trying to come up with like a setting that we could have that, especially because we thought we were going to be playing live. We wanted that kind of entertainment value. So I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, the solo section. So in class, Yuval says, he's like, well, what if it was jazz? And I was like, this is perfect, because Berkeley, jazz. So we thought that during this section, when it's the devil who's coming and playing his devilish song, it would only make sense for it to be a smooth jazz breakdown. So that's how that came to be, hence the sunglasses. And I told Brandon and Yuval, I was like, make it as jazzy as possible. We'll have the snapping, we'll do the whole thing. And then obviously electric fiddle comes in to save the day.
Awesome. So have you transcribed this for string quartet?
We have a chart for it, but we don't have an official like parts transcription for it. We kind of, because they're all incredible musicians, we kind of just like, you know what, here, I want you to comp in this section. I want you to play the melody in this section. I want you to do this. You take the bass line in this section. And we kind of went with it. And that was the result.
I think it would be cool to have a transcription of that. If you want, it's a thing that I think string quartets probably, if they realize that this is such a popular song, that if we did this as a string quartet, it would go over, and it would give players a chance to kind of show off a little bit too. Make it fun. That's the whole deal, that like everybody did their version of this and they're like, okay, it's the song. I'm going to get 1,000 requests for this. Let's make this fun and sort of make it our own.
Right. I do want to say, like, well, first of all, the reason I perform this song at gigs, I've never told any of you this. The reason I perform this tune at gigs is because of you, Matt, because I used to, okay, fun fact, everyone, I used to take lessons with Matt when I was in middle school and high school. He was the guy that taught me what a pentatonic scale is. And so I remember during one of our lessons, you were mentioning how you play The Devil Went Down to Georgia at every gig, and that stuck with me. So then by the time I was kind of out of end of high school into college, I was like, Devil Went Down to Georgia. And that's the reason I went and even bothered to learn the tune. So thanks. And then I also just think it's hilarious because I'm like the least likely person you would expect to be singing that song and rapping it. So kind of, I usually end my shows with it because I just think it's hilarious for me to be the one who's on stage like rapping. I just think it's funny. So in terms of that, I just love it. I would always love to play that song. I never think it's a joke. I'm always down to do it.
I played in a band in Texas that there was that song, and then we did That's Just the Way It Is, the Hornsby tune, and we had a little, like, long version of that everybody on stage took a solo. Like I did, the guitar player, the keyboard player, the bass player, and the drummer. So it was an extended version of that song, and we would always play Devil and That's Just the Way It Is early, because we knew we were going to have to play him again at the end of the night. So it's like, you're going to play those two songs twice every night. Let's just count on it. And so people are like, oh, you got to do Devil. We're like, we already did it. Oh, you got to do it again. You just sort of point to the tip jar. And it's like, I mean, we're going to have to do it, but maybe we'll get a 20 out of somebody, right?
Yeah.
Give me a chance to cut into my bar tab a little bit.
In Nashville style, if you're down on Broadway, I don't play down there a ton. It's not necessarily my scene, but Devil Went Down to Georgia, it's $100 flat. Bands down there will not play it unless $100 is in the tip jar, and they'll crowdsource it and take 10 from you, 50 from you, 20 from you. They'll crowdsource it, but they will not play it unless you get money in the tip jar. I
mean, it's if you know they're going to give you the money, why do it for free? That's business 101 right there.
Supply demand, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you guys haven't had a chance to perform that live yet, right, Mia?
I'm Not as a quartet, unfortunately. No, we almost did. Like we were so close to having it performance ready, and then obviously, Yuval went back to Israel, Brandon went back to Chicago, Will went back to Texas, so we kind of dispersed. So maybe one day when we're all back in the same state again, we'll be able to perform it. But for me personally, I am playing it at a wedding next week, so there's no shortage of opportunities to play it.
I think we need to have like a battle of the Devil Went Down to Georgia bands. We could do it here. Listening Room is pretty centrally located, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Nashville, come down from Boston. We could set it up on the stage, live stream it to the world, really see who is the fastest. Kidding.
That's right. That's right. In fact, you could have a night of nothing but Devil Went Down to Georgia. Invite like 20 artists. Everybody gets their version.
Hacked. Yeah.
Sarah Gorak did say, this is making me want to go tweak those lyrics and groove to make it more my vibe. Like, that's the whole idea. I wanted to sort of inspire people, like, don't just think that because I don't want to sound like Charlie Daniels that I can't play that tune. You can do this anyway, anyhow, for any reason. Yeah. It's a great song. I mean, I wish I'd have written it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about music, it's all creating. It's creating art, and especially with something with an iconic song like "The Devil Went Down to Georgia." The song is so much bigger than just playing it one way or listening to it. I can still remember the very first time I heard it, and just how many artists have played it. This song has gone so far. So it's all about making your own version and carrying that over into other things as well.
It's true.
Yeah. Hey, let me jump in for 1 second, and because Matt, we need to hear about your thick double C version of this tune.
Talking about fast.
Yeah, talking about like just killer and crunching it. So tell us about that, because we got to hear your side of it too.
Oh yeah, thank you. So yeah, I'll just throw in the video real quick. Here's just a portion of the video, and we'll talk about it.
I guess you didn't know it, but I'm a fiddle player too. And if you care to take it there, I'll make a bet with you. Now you play pretty good fiddle, boy, but give the devil his due. But a fiddle gold against your soul to think I'm better than you. Boy said my name's Johnny, and it might be a sin, but I take your bet you're gonna regret 'cause I'm the best it's ever been. Johnny, rising up your bow and play your fiddle hard. Cause I'm from Boost, Georgia, and the devil deals the card. If you win, you get the shiny fiddle made of gold. But if you lose, it'll get your soul. The devil opened up his case and he said, I'll start this show. And fire flew from his fingertips, he rosin up his bow. He pulled a bow across the strings and made an evil hiss. The band of demons joined in, it sounded something like this.
All right, so that's the Matt Bell version, and Adam's just giving us some mess about our Vipers, all of us crazy Viper people. So yeah, the cool thing for me, the 6-string Viper allows me to cover all the guitar parts. It goes down to the low F is just a half a step below the low E of a guitar, and I play in it. My project is a trio, so it's just Viper, bass, and drums. And so the drummer is a guy named Nick Baglio here in Raleigh. And then the bass player for that one is my buddy Trip Walmsley out of Lake Charles, Louisiana. And it's one of those, I wanted to hire the right guy for the job. Like Nick is one of those drummers. Like if you need a guy to just super creative, super groovy, but like this, he's not a dude that like lays back. He's not a minimalist. He's a maximalist. So if you need a guy who's going to throw down, and he actually does this killer drum solo later in here where he just comes completely out of time. He starts beat shifting the one. Nick's the guy that if you need like too many notes, he's the guy. And then it's the same deal with Tripp, the bass player. If you need a guy who's going to play too many notes, that's the guy. And he's going to play them well. You know, he's not the guy you call if you need this minimalist, like one note every 3 minutes. He's not that guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I sort of found the personnel for the gig, and then I put in my breakdown in here. I go into Fire by Jimi Hendrix because it occurred to me that it's the same lick. You know, you've got bum bum bum, and then Fire's ba 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 ba. It's the same notes. So, well, shoot, that kind of, I guess let's just do that. And my situation is usually going to be like in a bar. So I'm stretching this song out. It's that version is 5.5 minutes. In a bar, it'd probably be more like 8. You know, we'd stretch it out and do a long solo.
So talking about fast, what was that? 150, 160?
160. Yeah, it was 160. And I wish I could say that I just nailed that fiddle part on the first try, but I very much did not.
You just added 10 on top of what I did, right? Just so you could play it faster.
I mean, a little. I'm glad you didn't play it at 160 because 170 wasn't going to happen on this end. And then for the video, I took, because it's so fast and I wanted the video to seem kind of frantic. We took it and put it on the Amazing Slowdowner and slowed the audio down to 50% and then filmed it. I don't know if you guys know how music videos are made. It's like you're not actually playing unless you're at them. It's a live performance video. You're not actually performing. I'm playing, but that's not what you're hearing. So I slowed it down to 50%. And then, so now it takes 11 minutes to film one take of this. And my 13-year-old is my videographer. So he's out there, he's got the gimbal, he's filming, and we're out in this, it's a mountain bike trail where we're standing. And so there's mountain bikers riding by, and my editor had to work around all these mountain bikes, but it's like do 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 do, and I'm like, oh my god, this song's gonna take forever. And then we just doubled the speed of the video to make it look real frantic. So that's how we did that. But I probably did like 8 takes so that my videographer would have stuff, or my editor would have stuff to work with. So there's like 88 minutes of footage. It's like it's mind-numbing.
How long did that take you? How long did that take you to film?
We did it in a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you? I saw the sign. Was this behind RDU? Was this behind
it's
the
right
airport?
behind the airport. So there's some mountain
Fantastic.
bike
That's really
trails
cool.
out there. They're sort of illegal trails, but everybody rides them. So yeah, we were out there shooting all that behind the airport.
That's fantastic.
So if you've flown into RDU, you were probably landing right on top of me as I was doing all that. I should try coffee. Yeah. That's what the world needs, is a caffeinated Matt Bell.
Definitely.
I can recommend.
So what are you drinking, Joseph? What kind of coffee is this?
This is a Tanzanian coffee at the moment. It's a new roast to me, and it's delightful. It's very fantastic.
Weird pandemic stuff, and like nobody's really playing much. Adam, where are you playing next?
Let's see, what is next? I don't really have anything on the books right now. I did a bunch of private shows and corporate shows this summer, and I had a lot of stuff kind of filled up. I had about 60 shows kind of canceled, so that was kind of a bummer, and a couple cruise line things that I was going to do, and so I just not a worrier though. So I did some private shows, and I did these corporate gigs, and they were great. I have great clients. They were like, "Are you playing?" I'm like, "No." We're like, "Well, we're still hiring you." So that was nice. But yeah, I just kind of chilling right now. I do a lot of jujitsu with my kid. So like,
I like it.
I'm doing the senior citizen version of the Pan American Games. I'm competing on Friday. So I've been just working my butt off, and had a competition last weekend, and it's literally the exact opposite of COVID. It's hilarious. It's like 3,000 people wearing masks, and then you get on the mat, and this guy's like breathing in your mouth the whole time, and you're fighting for your life. And so, but it's like if anybody who's a seasoned, self-employed, I should say, musician knows that it's feast or famine, and it's always been feast or famine. So when you can feast, feast. Save your money, pay off your house, make sure you don't, incur lots of debt. When you're not booked heavily, do awesome stuff. Live a great life. Don't live right at the edge of your means, or you end up, hating everything. And everyone's got to like proceed how they need to proceed, but like not that this is advice for anybody specifically, but like just enjoy it. Enjoy the waves. I mean, like flatlanders, I don't want to live where it's flat. I like the up and down. I like the mountains. I enjoy that kind of stuff. So I don't know about you guys, but for me, as different as this has been, it's been a freaking amazing year so far. I've been having a great time.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to focus on the negative of everything that's happened this year, but what we also have to realize is we have time. There's a lot of time that we didn't have before, and it's how you apply that time and what you do with that time that can really make a difference.
Yeah, for sure. Mia, how about you? Like where you are up in like a scholastic environment, that's got to be, I mean, I live in the country. I can go out. There's no one here, but where you are, it's got to be pretty intense.
It's interesting. I'm living with roommates, and I'm on a very busy street in a tiny little neighborhood in Boston. So it's very high pressure, high intensity. And I briefly went back home to Colorado this summer, and it was so different. Everything was so much more laid back and chill. I was in my house. I could drive my car. And it's not this terrifying, like here in Boston just got put in a red zone, so everything is very like, it's the worst, you're gonna die, blah, blah. So it's very, I try to keep it in perspective, and on top of that, we're doing all of our classes online, which I've said this so many times, but you really can't rehearse a string quartet over Zoom. I wish you could. And I'm in a string quartet ensemble and a Celtic ensemble, and it's challenging, and so it's hard to kind of focus on the positive sometimes. But conversely, because of the situation we're in, I never would have really gotten this jump start on remote recording. I'm getting most of my work right now through commissions for recording projects for people, and I would never have really kind of cracked down on my video editing game. And as a result, I feel like I now have the ability to do these collaborations and videos that I've always wanted to do my whole life, and now I'm doing it, and it's solely because of COVID. Because before the pandemic, I was in 11 bands and didn't have any free time at all, and I was like, so now I can kind of focus on things that I've always wanted to do. So it's nice.
That's cool. There's that famous quartet for the end of time. Yeah, who's the composer of that? I'm blanking on it for some reason, but it was written in a concentration camp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I forget again. This is like I'm way away from my music education, like 20 plus years ago. But it was written. It's like clarinet, violin. It was like what they had, right? Mm-hmm. in the concentration camp, and that's what the piece ended up being written for. So. I guess if I had thought that I was going to say something about that, I would have looked up all those details. But look it up; it's a great story, and it just goes to show you that the limitations can end up being the necessity of invention with what you have. You got to kind of MacGyver the situation. I don't know. We'll see who understands that joke.
That's right. You got to be a certain age to understand MacGyver jokes.
It's like I have no idea what he's talking about. MacGyver.
But the resiliency that a lot of people have shown, like a lot of musician friends of mine too, like, we've totally had to reformat everything, for those of us, like I was planning a tour. 3 of my bands were all going to tour together at the end of the summer. That didn't happen. So it's like, okay, how do we bounce back from this? How do we make the best of it? What are we going to do? Where do we go from here? And people have come up with some really creative solutions, and it's been really great to see. And it's also weirdly brought everyone together in a way that I've never experienced before. Like I'm connecting with so many more musicians even now. Like if not for all the stuff that happened, I wouldn't be here. So it's been, if you look at the bright side, because there's a lot of negative to look at, but I'm very grateful for the good that's come out of this.
Good attitude.
Yeah. How about you,
Absolutely.
Joseph? What you got coming up next?
Well, it's kind of the same boat. Musicians shows get canceled. We were pulled off the road late February, March, and so dove into teaching and recording a lot. A few shows sprinkled about, but for the most part, shows through 21 and 22 tours were pulled off the dates. So a lot of recording, a lot of teaching. The occasional show, actually going to Oklahoma this weekend, so doing that, and just played a wedding yesterday, which was a lot of fun. So enjoying the downtime to be at home and not always be on the road, which is really fantastic, and just kind of plan and work.
Yeah, I feel like if you're a writer and you can't get some sort of inspiration from 2020, I got nothing, man. This is such a crazy year that if you don't find some source of things, something that happened this year that you want to write about, if nothing happened this year that makes you want to write, you're dead.
Yeah.
If you're cool with everything happening, then write about that. If you're not, then write about that. If you're completely flummoxed, then write about that.
Yeah.
If this is normal to you, then I don't know who you are.
I think a lot of good stuff will end up coming out of it. I think people will already, like in places that have opened up, that have hired me out, or even people like I did a California run this summer where it was all private homes. I mean, people who were like, I was so hungry for music. And that's a recommendation I have also for a lot of musicians is if private, people who want to have a show in their private home, like people are hungry for this. And that's, my fall project is, which, at some point will become public, is that it's like I have a December and January plan that we'll see what happens if people buy it or not. But the question is always, what do people want? And there are people who like music lovers who are just absolutely starving for it right now. So problem is a little bit, I hate to say it, it's a little bit for folks that have more money because, I'm not flying out somewhere for, for a gig that doesn't pay. So, that is an issue. And the, common folk deserve music too, but there's just nowhere, even here where we're relatively open. I mean, we're almost completely open. There's still very, very little live music.
Well, venues and clubs and promoters are gun shy. There's so many folks that, like you say, they're starving for live music, and that's absolutely the case. In some part of it, it's just entertainment, but when it comes to music is so much more than entertainment, and live music especially is more than just, hey, what you doing this weekend? Let's go here. It's so much more than that. I've been really encouraged to see all the drive-in concerts and the virtual concerts that the folks have been having, using drive-in theaters to hold worship services. It's just been, there's a lot of good that's coming out of this.
Well, creative people are gonna come up with creative solutions, right?
Yeah, sometimes those creative solutions are good, but like, I hope I don't offend any vegetarians here, but like fake meat is not meat. You know what I mean? A concert on a screen is not a concert to me. Yeah, I gotta be right. And that anybody who doesn't like understand, what it feels like to play out to thousands of people who, that kind of magic moment, you're playing at them, and then you bring it back a little, and you see 2,000 people lean forward 4 inches to hear you just a little bit better. Have you ever played with your audience like that? Like seeing the power that the communication of music has. There is nothing like live, and these video things are wonderful to kind of keep us semi-connected, but that's like we've been eating gruel for the last 8 months, and eventually people are just gonna be like, I can't take this anymore. I need a live show, and I don't want to sit in my car, and I don't want to see it on a screen. I want to sweaty dancing with my friends and just going crazy for this music, and that's the stuff that people eventually are just going to say, I can't live without it anymore.
For me, it's about moving air, man. It's when people ask, what kind of music do you play? Loud. I play loud music. Like when my drummer kicks his kick drum, I want to see your shirt move. Like we're loud, okay? And when the bass player hits that low B on that 5-string bass, like the windows are shaking.
Yep.
That's what I love, and you can't get that. Like when I'm playing a virtual show, I know your phone ain't doing that in your house. And when you watch people's eyes out there, and you can see when the eyes start glazing over. Let's wrap this solo up. But if you can see they're sort of hungry for more, you keep going, and it's totally interactive, and you can't get that through a live screen. You can't get it on a drive-in. I mean, it's better than nothing. But
yeah, I love what you have on your Facebook profile, Matt. I play violin loudly. You know, I play violin loudly if possible, or something like that. It's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to be completely deaf in another couple years, but, you know, whatever. It was fun. Well, hey, thank you guys for doing this. So many cool, like you guys, your versions of Devil really inspired me, and I really appreciate you guys doing this. And to all the folks watching, man, I hope that you've gotten some ideas and gotten inspired, not just this song, but any song, to just make it your own.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, Matt. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having
us.
Yeah, man. Hopefully not too long and we can get together and hang out in person again.
I like it.
Awesome.
Y'all come to Raleigh. Come stay at my house.
Everybody go to the electric violin shop and buy yourself a big old Viper.
Or an MSI, right?
Or an MSI. I have to put a plug in for Maloney String Instruments.
Grab your violin and show everybody before we sign off here. We got lots of Viper love here. Sponsors have got to be sponsored.
Yeah. Dan Maloney made this, and when I called Electric Violin Shop, they were all. I was like, they know what I want. I'm looking for a violin that looks like a violin, and I came from a lunch I had a long time ago with Mark O'Connor in New York, and I had a video go viral, and he said something like, one thought: keep it a violin for the young people, so that and I love the Viper look and everything like that, but it was a good thought. He was like, you could play cool stuff on a violin, like a violin that looks like a violin. So I was like, I've just always wanted to keep my stage look almost a little conservative, like a couple violins hanging. That's what my stage looks like. Yep. A couple violins hanging there, and then show what you can do with it. So, but yeah, he makes a hell of a violin. It is amazing. I remember talking to him about it because I was doing a little sponsorship thing with him. And I said, tell me about this bridge. He said, I can't tell you about that. That's proprietary.
They're great. Yeah, they're fantastic violins. And anytime somebody calls to ask about the instrument, I'm like, just go watch some Asano DeGraff videos. If you want to know what it sounds like, just watch that. You buy the violin, you're going to sound just like him. It's guaranteed.
Just like
You just need an hour.
Right, 1 hour of practice. You have all those arpeggios. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. And to all of you out there watching, thanks for tuning in. Love you guys. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Matt. Take care.